No, 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 no. Hello, I'm the Angry Spork, and yeah, I saw Justice League yesterday. I didn't really want to for a long time. I had absolutely no interest and no faith in seeing it after the debacle that was Batman v Superman: Dawn of. But, my brother texted me about a showing in the late-ish morning, like a little before 10, and for a lot of reasons I didn't feel like arguing with him. We've seen a bunch of these kind of movies before together, almost like a tradition, an unspoken tradition, but and then there are people online saying, well, this is actually pretty good. I mean, and these are people like on message boards or, Doug Walker, better known as the Nostalgia Critic, uh, you know, making a vlog saying that it's not bad, it's, better, it's not perfect. But so against my better judgment, such as it is, I decided, okay, I'll give this a shot. Of course, that's how I felt about Dawn of. And after seeing it, I saw it yesterday, I'll say they weren't wrong. It was a genuinely fun movie, which is incredibly surprising from latter day DC movies. It was not boring. I wasn't waiting for it to end. There was the fun and the humor in it was not overly forced like I was anticipating. I know Joss Whedon was a part of it. He co-wrote the screenplay. He filled in some directorial duties after Zack Snyder had to deal with some unfortunate personal business. Um, and my brother and I kind of agree. He, you can see where okay, this is the stuff Snyder probably shot. This is definitely the stuff Whedon shot. Um, and even still, I wasn't 100% on this for the reasons like Batman v Superman and Suicide Squad and Man of Steel. I'm kind of lukewarm about. Wonder Woman was a breath of fresh air, but I wasn't convinced that this would be a continuation of said air. Now, Gal Gadot and Ben Affleck in their respective roles, I think they do very well here. I had no problem with them in BVS, except for, the material they had to work with. The actor who played Cyborg did a very good job. I've noticed the criticism. Cyborg, he belongs in the Teen Titans. Why is he in the Justice League? Well, for one thing, they do want to diversify the league, and there's no real inherent problem with that. And I can, I'm a classicist. If I was more of a Teen Titans fan, if I was a bigger Cyborg fan, I would probably agree with those people. But because my exposure has been limited to the animated fare, I can't really be as enthusiastic about that. But the reason he's in the league, the reason he's in the story does, work with the whole MacGuffin they're going for. Flash was okay in a sort of, rookie perspective. He's, he's kind of new at this. I mean, not as new as Cyborg, obviously, but there are a lot of elements to it he's not accustomed to. It's a version of Flash I just have to get accustomed to, like their version of Aquaman. I'm not entirely familiar with Jason Momoa's work, but some people are saying, well, that's Momoa. It seemed like there were times where he was a grittier version of the brave and the bold Aquaman who was enthusiastic about fighting villainy, but, again, grittier. And the kind of hard-nosed version we've seen, like, I think he was in the comics, I would only know from Morrison's Justice League run or from, the Justice League cartoon where he had a definite edge to him. But it was kind of weird hearing him say stuff like, my man, and just like a bat, I dig it. It's like, it's this weird trying to balance the gritty with the silly, and not to say that it can't be done, but it's like weird. We didn't get much of J.K. Simmons as Commissioner Gordon. He did good for the brief time he was there. He did good, man. He did good. That's what he did. He did good. What did he do? He did good. And he actually kind of looked like weird thing. He kind of looked like what was it? Charles Napier from the old Batman show who played Alfred. Because he had the stash going and the white hair. It's just glasses. Getting back on track. Amy Adams was good as Lois. I thought, again, she wasn't in that much, but she did play something of a critical role in, I want to say in either the second third of the film or the beginning of the last third, whatever. I didn't have a measuring tape with me. So, Steppenwolf was, I will say he's a serviceable villain. There's nothing particularly distinct about him, but he's not supposed to be like the biggest big bad or anything. So he seemed rather like single-minded, and he is Darkseid's minion, so it's. And I'm not that familiar with him. Though I do agree with certain criticisms. He could have been made a bit more, interesting. But for what they were going for, it wasn't that awful. Now I want to get into what I did and didn't like about it. So this is going to be spoiler territory. Noted by the pictures of spoiler. Not the James Tynion, the fourth version, because that version sucks. Not as bad as this version of Cassie Kane, just so terrible. Just what I thought. And we're back on track again. Gonna drop the biggest spoiler of the movie right now. The biggest spoiler: Henry Cavill gets to act, and I mean like emote. I mean, where was this Superman all this time? I mean, besides the season 2 premiere episodes of Supergirl. Not so much the season 2 finale. They just went right off the... Anyway, he actually gets to show some actual emotion here and just not be Batman, be Superman. Was that a sentence? Which isn't to say he's happy-go-lucky from the get-go. After they bring him back, he's not entirely himself, so he has a rumble with the League. 4 out of the 5 so far, the superpowered ones at first, and Flash's tango with him was kind of nice, because while Flash is faster than him, Superman's still moving faster than everyone else, so it does trip Barry up a bit. He then encounters Batman, and that goes about as well as you can imagine if you've seen BVS. And then he has some lines of dialogue that are appropriate for the moment, but after he throws, the "do you bleed" line back at him, that is pretty much the last we see of that version of Superman, because Lois shows up, they fly off to the farm in Kansas, the Kent farm, which has been foreclosed upon by the bank, and Martha's had to move out. And Clark is then on. He's more like a Superman that is more optimistic, is more upbeat. It's night and day between, Justice League Superman and the other 2 movies Superman. And it is a welcome respite from those 2 movies. One scene I really liked was when, the League is converged on Steppenwolf, and Flash is noticeably and understandably wary. He explains he hasn't done battle like this before, and Batman tells him, save one person. After that, you'll know what to do. And it's, in its own way, I think is a good example of a bit of character growth that is shown rather than told. And, of course, because Flash saves one person, he knows what to do now, so there's nothing stopping him from saving a bunch of the rest of the hostages. And he's like, yeah, of course. But what might be my favorite scene is towards the beginning, where some terrorists have taken hostages and Wonder Woman flies in. Well, she doesn't fly in so much as she acts like a battering ram speedster, just bursts right through the door, and just the stance she has it feels very fitting for the character. And as she's fighting these terrorists, one fires a single bullet at a line of hostages, and of course she deflects it. But this is an automatic weapon, so he just squeezes the trigger, he lets loose with all the ammunition, but the way Wonder Woman just keeps deflecting bullet after bullet until she's done, because the guy's out of bullets. It's definitely one of my favorite scenes. It does display that Wonder Woman she's not the Flash, but she does have enhanced speed, which I don't think they really touched on in the Wonder Woman movie. Not that I can recall, but it was an excellent scene. Another thing I liked was during the final battle with Steppenwolf, he's in Russia working some mother box juju that's screwing up the land and endangering a whole bunch of people, although we just focus on this family of 4 that are trying to escape in their truck, and the Flash is pushing them because their truck is broken down, and he's pushing them at super speed, and he's just he sees Superman flying in the distance with a big old apartment complex over his head. And Superman, that was just so much fun to see. And it's it was funny for the moment, and it showed that Superman had his priorities straight. He knew what to do. And the ultimate fate of Steppenwolf was not... It was the Justice League ruining his plans, but he gets eaten by parademons and boom tubes away. Did he die? Maybe, maybe not. But, maybe they'll bring him back. It could go either way, quite frankly. Now, as for what I didn't like, I mentioned that Flash and Aquaman, I don't think that their takes on them are necessarily bad. Some people who are closer to the characters might disagree with me. It's just that I'm mixed on them. Then there's the thing of the exposition. There was a lot of exposition, especially for Steppenwolf. It was necessary given the 2-hour time limit, but at the very least, we got some cool visuals to go with it. A nice battle where the Atlanteans and the Amazons had put aside their own war to join the armies of man in fighting Steppenwolf thousands of years in the past. And we get a cameo by a Green Lantern. And then there's something that they kind of shot themselves in the foot with in Batman v Superman, with saying Clark Kent died in the same battle that Superman died. I don't know what any specifics might have been. A chunk of rubble fell on him, probably after the Batmobile needlessly rammed through it. But yeah, now it seems that in Justice League, Clark is back too, not just Superman, so they didn't exactly explain that. Maybe it'll get explained in Man of Steel 2, or maybe it'll be a blurb in the Cyborg movie or Aquaman or something. But yeah, it's something of a plot hole, to be sure. So the second post-credits scene, I think at the very end, Luthor left a double of himself in his cell, and he's on a yacht with many beautiful ladies, meeting with Deathstroke. And he mentions how the superheroes have brought their own team together after bringing God back, which is probably the most you really get of his goofy, wacky, poor attempts at philosophy from BVS. And he teases getting something together for the villains, like an Injustice gang or it's Legion of Doom, whichever you want to believe. So maybe that'll show up in Justice League 2 and they won't go straight for Darkseid or something. I don't know. One of the reasons I didn't want to see Justice League was because DC's movies, much like their comics, have been promising how great and awesome and cool and new and hip and edgy that these things are going to be, and when they give it to you, they just give you garbage and dreck that you just want to get rid of because they won't fix it themselves, so you have to take matters in your own hands. But even though I wouldn't put this on par, much less above the first Avengers movie, Justice League does have the kind of wit, humor, and charm, and yes, even heart, that the Marvel movies seem very proficient at. Thor the Dark World, Iron Man 2, Guardians of the Galaxy, they might have certain flaws to them. No movie is without them, but they were so fun and entertaining and engaging, critics and audiences were willing to overlook some of those flaws, still noting them, still accepting them, but still willing to sit down and watch those movies more than once. Whereas previous DC movies, with the exception of Wonder Woman, pretty much left me feeling depressed and or disappointed. Now you see here, the further we get away from the formula of the Batman v Superman, Suicide Squads, and so forth, then we get better. You keep moving away. You keep moving away. You get away from... You stay away. You stay away. If you're holding out on seeing it, take it from someone who was ready to just completely ignore all impending DC movies. It's actually pretty good. If you like the Marvel movies, you'll probably like this one just as much. If you like Superman and Wonder Woman, they're done great. If you like Batman not being a murderous psychopath, he's not a murderous psychopath in this one. He has guns on his Batmobile, but technically he only shoots zombies. Anyway, thanks for watching, and now I'm back to hoping that maybe some other people at DC learn their lesson and get rid of really bad ideas. Good night.